Hey guys, how are you today? I'm pretty fantastic. So I filmed this partially once already, and then my brother came by and dropped off this cool new ring light for me that he bought for me, so thank you, Esteban. Okay, so we're gonna talk about bankruptcy today, and the reason I wanted to talk about this is because I have recently finished going through bankruptcy. So I feel like a lot of people think that bankruptcy is like this big omen, like this, you don't want to file it, you never want to file it, like do whatever you can to never have to ever result to that horrible thing. But in reality, it's not that bad, and it kind of helps you out a lot if you need to file it. So my entire life I've always been told to make sure your credit is good. Like, that needs to be one thing that you really try hard and you work hard at keeping good, because you don't want to file bankruptcy if you don't have to, which I totally agree with. So I'm 26 years old. I will be 27 in August, and I filed for bankruptcy in October of last year, 2016. And the reason I did is because I was just plain and simple, I was an idiot with credit cards. And I racked my credit cards up to almost $12,000, and I have nothing to show for it. I don't have a pretty Chanel or Louis Vuitton bag. I don't have this cool, awesome vacation that I went on, that, you know, that I went to Europe or wherever else that I, you know, spent all this money on. When I look back at it, I could have probably gotten some of those things, but I didn't. I honestly don't have much to show for it. I really couldn't tell you what I spent $12,000 on, and that's kind of depressing. The reason I decided to file bankruptcy is because my husband and I were just so in over our heads with money and saving, and it just got to the point where it was just too much. It was too much to pay every month, and my husband is the only one who works, and I stay home with my son, so it got to the point where if he's putting all this money towards this, you know, we should be seeing some result from it, and we didn't. We weren't seeing anything, because granted, my credit card was only 6% interest, which is awesome. But 6% on $11,000 or $12,000, even when you pay that payment the next month, I mean, interest is a few $100 that it just racks right back up. So it was kind of like we were paying it off for it to just go right back up again. And I was just really horrible with credit cards. And, you know, it was all my debt. None of it was my husband's. So when we finally came to terms that we were going to file bankruptcy, we had to look into what we were going to file. If we were going to file Chapter 13 or Chapter 7. So Chapter 13 is they take everything that you owe and put it all together in one big lump sum, and then you pay one monthly payment. And I think everybody's monthly payment is like different, but they go off of like your income and like what you could actually afford and stuff like that. That's how they figure out your what your monthly payment would be. And then Chapter 7 is they just take a giant, one of those big mistake erasers, and just erase and wipe away all of your debt. And that's it. Like, you don't pay anything, you don't owe anything, no one can call you and harass you anymore. Like, it's done. So we decided to go with Chapter 7. Not because it was the easy way out. A lot of people are like, oh, you're just taking the easy way out. Like, you don't want to own up to what you did. No, that's not even close, because bankruptcy is still not an easy way out. It might look like it or sound like it on the outside, but it's still not. There's still a lot that comes with it. So we filed in October of last year, and it actually finished up in March, the end of March of this year. So last month. And I had really prayed hard about this, because one of my things was I was so scared to file bankruptcy, because I didn't want it to happen again. I didn't want to get sucked back into credit cards, whether it was, you know, shopping cards or, you know, for like clothes, or if it was for a gas station, or if it was for Target, or whatever the case may be. I didn't want to get sucked back into it. I was really scared that it would happen again. And it's really funny because my attorney, actually, the one day when we were filing, he did say, we were both sitting in the room, me and my husband, and he said, you know, after you do file, after everything goes through, he's like, I do recommend you getting a credit card. And my husband looked at him like,
you know that's why we're here, right? Because she can't be trusted with a credit card. That's why we're here.
And I'm over here like, ooh, that just hit a soft spot in him. I mean, he has been silent the entire time we've met with the lawyer, but except for that, he was like, no. Sorry, my nose just itches really bad. I don't know why. People need to stop thinking about me. So our lawyer was like, no, seriously though, you're gonna need to get a credit card. Nothing big, like a store credit card that you can only use at that store. Something that's probably gonna be really, really low dollar amount, because you're gonna have to eventually try to build that credit back up, and that's how you're gonna do it. So we decided to put, you can put in your medical bills, your house, your car, your credit cards, all of that good stuff. Typically student loans don't come off it, but in Chapter 7 cases, sometimes if you can prove extreme hardship, your student loans will come off with that. And I'm gonna go into more of that later if my nose would stop itching. Ugh. So, we don't have a house because we stay with my grandma, and I did have a car, and I had like one medical bill, I think, that was like $200, and then everything else was credit cards. So also, like, since I am married, none of this affected my husband. It didn't affect his credit, it didn't affect his name, nothing. And the reason being is everything that we did to file bankruptcy, everything was in my name. So the credit cards, my car, all of that stuff, it was all in my name. Nothing was in his name. If any of those things would have been like joint accounts, then it would have affected him and he would have had to file also. But it didn't, so it only affected me. So even if you are married, if you need to file for bankruptcy, it's not going to affect your spouse unless their name is in it also. We decided to put my car into the bankruptcy, because you have the option of, if you have a house or car, you don't have to put it in the bankruptcy, but you are still responsible for paying any of that debt that you owe, but you also have to file like this affirmation. So you have to sign this paper that they're going to end up sending you when you do file for bankruptcy. And if you want to put your car into the bankruptcy, you just don't sign the paper. And if you want to keep your car, then you sign the paper, and then the bank has to kind of reapprove your loan, kind of. Like, it's kind of like you get like a new loan. So I actually looked at mine to see what it would have been. My car payment would have gone up from what it was originally because I was filing for bankruptcy. So even though I would have been keeping my car, my payment would not have been the same. My payment would have gone up, I think, like, not like a whole lot, but it was going up because the interest rate completely changed on it. So my interest rate on my car was like 7%. It would have gone up to like 24%, which is crazy, but it was because I was filing. And since they would have been allowing me to keep my loan, that is why. So, but we didn't end up keeping my car anyway. We put my car into the bankruptcy, and the reasoning for that is because I still owed about 10 or 11,000 on my car, but it wasn't even worth like $4,000. And so many things were going wrong with it. It just kept falling apart. We kept putting more money into it, and it was just a burden. So we put that into the bankruptcy, and it was actually a really good decision because my friend who works at a car dealership, she was able to get us a new car in my husband's name. So we wouldn't have qualified for anything. So my husband, we did get a brand new car. Well, not brand new, but pretty new. My other car was a 2009, and this one that we have now is a 2016, but it was used. We got an awesome deal on my car, and but everything is in my husband's name because there was no way to get everything in my name. I'm not really sure about how it works in any other states, but here in Missouri, it's supposed to be $1,520 max for a Chapter 7 filing. Now, that does not include businesses or anything like that. This is just like individual. So when I was talking to my lawyer, he told me that you should not be paying more than that, and if you have anybody that does pay more than that, they should not have. And a Chapter 13, I think, was about $350 to file for that. We ended up filing in October. I think it was I want to say it was the 30th or the 31st of October is when we filed. And it did not completely end or go through until March, I think, like 16th, maybe the 20th. So it's about 6 months, roughly 5.5, 6 months, for it to completely go through and process. Now, I have Credit Karma, like the little app Credit Karma. When I was going through my stuff, because I monitor it, you know, all the time, and I always have. So when my stuff started to fall off, I'd get notifications, hey, okay, this has changed on your credit. This no longer, you know, it would show me like, okay, this account's closed. This went down to 0, this went down to 0. And it kind of made me feel good, because when that $11,000 dropped off, it was just fantastic, because I knew I didn't have to pay it. And even though we paid the $1,520 to get rid of like 25 grand in debt, it still took time. But people were no longer allowed to call me and harass me about it. And then my car, God, that was like a whole nother, we was ridiculous. So they had to pretty much repo my car, but they didn't. So we had actually already purchased my new car, and they kept sending me things in the mail. You no longer have car insurance on your car. And I was like, well, duh, because I'm not driving it and it's in the bankruptcy. So I called, because I had gotten 2 or 3 letters in the mail about this. So I called them and I was like, hey, yeah, I got this letter about this insurance that I'm supposed to have, but I filed bankruptcy, so I shouldn't have to pay anything. And the guy goes, well, let me figure that out. And he got back on the phone and he goes, yeah, well, they said that if you don't want to pay the insurance, they'll just put it onto your monthly car payment. And I was like, okay, I'm not paying my monthly car payment because it's in bankruptcy.
Oh, well, I'm not really sure what to do with that then.
So I'm just like, okay. So then I finally got a hold of the bank, and they told me legally they weren't supposed to talk to me about much or answer much questions, because I was supposed to go through my lawyer, which I understood and I knew that. And she's like, you know, I may not be able to answer something for you, but I can answer possibly some questions. So I go, okay, so well, you know that I filed this bankruptcy. They told me that, you know, I would have to give the car back. Well, yeah, correct, you will. And I'm like, okay, so when is that happening? And they're like, well, what do you mean? I'm like, well, I want to get rid of my car. It's been sitting in my driveway for 2 months and no one has contacted me. Like, all I could picture in my mind was like that repo show, you know, where like those big bald guys like come in your yard at like 3 in the morning and like steal the car. I didn't want to go through that. I didn't want anyone like just jacking my car in the middle of the night coming into my house, because you know, who knows? I would have thought it was like a burglar or something. Anyway, so I told them, I just want to get rid of the car. Like, I'm happy to hand it over. Everything is completely cleaned out of it. I have the keys, everything. We ended up having to make arrangements. They told me that if they were to come pick it up, it could take a few more months, or I could just drop it off. I was like, okay, I'm probably just gonna have to drop it off. So we dropped it off, dropped the keys off and everything, and I was so happy. It was just like this huge weight lifted off my shoulders. And it took almost the full time for my car to actually drop off my credit, because they sent me a letter and everything too saying, well, your car is going to go for auction, which I'm assuming is the normal process. If your car gets repoed, then, you know, they put it up for auction to see, and then whatever you like owe on it still, you would pay minus the however much the car was bought for. But I didn't have to, because it was bankruptcy. They just sent me letters because I guess they had to. I don't know. We had everything cleared off, and then one day on my credit I looked and my student loans were gone. Gone. Like $50,000. It just disappeared. And I literally almost had a breakdown in Walmart. I almost started crying, because I was like, what the heck? He told me, my lawyer told me that there's no way this could happen. It would not come off like that, whatever. And so then I Googled, and it did say that in extreme hardship cases, Chapter 7 bankruptcy will take off student loans. So about 3 weeks ago, I got an email saying, okay, you need to start paying on your student loans. And I was like, what? Long story short, apparently Credit Karma messed up and said that I had no student loans and that all my accounts were closed, when in reality, they were not closed at all. They are still open. So I do still have student loans, but I was able to qualify for lower rates and different stuff like that. So no big deal, because I didn't expect my student loans to go on to that. It was really cool at first because I really thought that they did, but Credit Karma actually had to reinstate the accounts and like do all this other stuff because they messed up. Apparently they didn't give the correct information to TransUnion and Equifax and everything like that, so it didn't get processed correctly. So just make sure you keep an eye on that, because apparently Credit Karma sometimes does mess up. So you may have something on your credit or not on your credit that you should or shouldn't have. So just watch it, monitor it. All in all, do I regret filing bankruptcy? No, not one bit. Do I regret being an idiot with my credit cards? Absolutely. Because if I would not have had to file bankruptcy, I wouldn't have. I never really wanted to, but I've learned from my mistakes. I learned that you cannot be stupid like that with your credit. It's not okay. If you're gonna get a credit card, pay it off every single month. A credit card is not free money. A credit card is a tool to build your credit up so that you can eventually get a house, or so you can get cash back and rewards to travel. And you know, if you're doing it the correct way, you'll be okay. But if you're not, then you're gonna be in debt and you're gonna possibly have to file bankruptcy. People just don't tell you that, so you're kind of like in the dark and you just assume, hey, I don't really have to pay this money back, even though like you know you have to pay it back, but you're like, oh, I can pay it off over time, which is fine too. Like if you get a huge item that you know, like you really want, like say you really want a TV or whatever and you can't pay it off all right this second, like that's okay to pay, you know, a decent amount of it off every month, but you are gonna incur interest unless you get like the first, you know, 12 months or 15 months with like 0% interest. Just make sure you watch that. I hope that you guys enjoyed this, because it's something that, you know, not everybody knows about, and people are kind of scared of it sometimes to think about doing it or to go through with it or whatever, and it's really not that bad, you know. It's not an easy way out because my credit is horrible, and you know, even if I wanted to, I couldn't get a car, I couldn't get a house, I probably would not be able to get approved for an apartment right now. So, not that I need one or anything, but those are just things to think about when you do file bankruptcy. It's not an easy way out. It's definitely going to be on your credit history for 7 to 10 years, and it is a derogatory mark on your credit history. So keep that in mind if you are thinking about it. If you are in the St. Louis area at all, I will link down in the description my attorney's office, because he was awesome. His name was Chris. He was so great. I went through the Watton Law Group and they were just amazing. They worked with me the entire way. If I had any questions, they answered them. They were really sweet. They weren't intimidating or anything, and it was really nice to go through all of this with them. Well, I really do think if you have to, don't be scared to file. Just learn from your mistakes. There are some people that make a living filing bankruptcy and they will just rack all this money up and then they'll file bankruptcy just because they want to get rid of it, and then the next day they'll go out and buy a new car, which you can do, but your interest rate's going to be massively high. Like it's going to be at like, you know, 40% to get a car, which in reality is really not good. So if you want a decent payment, it's just, don't do that. If you guys have any questions, or if there's anything that I didn't cover in this video or that you're wondering about, leave it down in the comment section and I will try to answer it if I did not cover it in this video, or if you guys want me to make a part 2, if there's enough questions, I'll make another part to this video. Don't forget to check out my blog, because I did put up a new blog post today and it is about my tan, because if you can tell, which you probably can't, but I am darker. I am a little darker. Not by much, but I am, because I tanned. And I have a review over on my blog, so go, the link's down here. I'll try to maybe up here, I don't know. So please like and subscribe and comment any questions down below. Don't forget to leave video suggestions, okay? Because I would love to do them. So leave them down there, and then I will see you guys on Thursdays, okay? Mondays and Thursdays. Monday, Thursday. Monday, Thursday. Monday, Thursday, Monday, Thursday, Monday, Thursday.
But I wasn't given the spirit of fear. I was